Greetings, noble seekers of hidden truth. If your eyes have found this channel, it is no mere coincidence. The universe makes no such mistakes. This is Aleister Crowley's diary, a beacon for those who dare to walk the path of light through the shadows. Subscribe to this virtual sanctuary and by Babylon activate the notifications. For each new video is a grimoire cast into the ether, a spark of the great work made manifest. Love is the law, love under will, and knowledge begins with a single click. 93. O you who dare to unbolt the gate between the realm of the living and the threshold of death, listen well. For the art you call necromancy is not the crude superstition of peasants, nor the dark toy of ignorant sorcerers. It is rather a forgotten key, a sacred science that rends the veil between the worlds and allows the true adept to commune with the dead, not from morbidity, but from a thirst for wisdom. Of all the branches of magic, few are so misunderstood as necromancy. In the vulgar imagination, it is clothed in grotesque visions, desecrated graveyards, shambling corpses, dancing skeletons. Nonsense! The true art, in its essence, is as sacred as communion with angels. The spirit of the dead is, after all, a spirit, and all spirits may be summoned, mastered, or consulted. The word necromancy comes from the Greek nekros, dead, and manteia, divination. It is technically the art of obtaining knowledge or power through contact with the deceased. But this definition is incomplete. The true necromancer seeks not only divination, but communion, evocation, and yes, command. He is no mere medium. He is lord of the threshold between the worlds. Ancient is this art. The Chaldeans, masters of astrology and conjuration, spoke with the dead long before the first temples were built. The Egyptians, with their Book of the Dead, codified complex rites not only to guide the soul beyond, but to recall it back again for comfort, for counsel, for power. The pyramid texts themselves bear witness to this truth. The pharaohs did not die, they transformed. Their tombs were not prisons but gateways, resonant with spells, names and symbols, designed to ensure that the soul or K remained accessible to the priests. In truth, much of Egyptian religion was necromancy clothed in solar poetry. In Greece, explicit references to necromancy appear in Orphic and Pythagorean traditions. Odysseus, in the Odyssey, descends to Hades and with libations of blood calls forth the soul of Tiresias to gain foresight. This ritual, the necromanteon, was practiced in temples devoted to the dead, always with awe and always with peril. Rome continued the path, though in darker secrecy. The witches of Horace and Ovid, Canidia and Sagana, entered pacts with corpses to read the future. But it was in the Middle Ages that necromancy was cast into damnation. The Church, jealous of any wisdom outside its iron grasp, decreed that all communion with the dead was sin. Thus the art was driven underground, where it survived, kept alive by alchemists, heretical monks, and initiated magicians. In the East, forms of ancestor veneration serve as necromantic parallels. In Chinese Taoist magic, specific rites invoke the spirits of one's lineage, often with talismans and sacred texts. The Japanese Shinto tradition maintains contact with kami, some of whom are the honored dead. In Africa, traditions such as Vodou and Ifa include reverence and communication with ancestral spirits. Necromancy in these traditions is not merely tolerated, it is essential, interwoven with healing, justice, and spiritual continuity. Likewise, among indigenous cultures of the Americas, shamanic rites often involve dialogue with the ancestors for prophecy and guidance. Those who know the craft understand that necromancy is intimately bound to Goetia, the so-called lower branch of ceremonial magic. But lower in what sense? Because it traffics with spirits of the dead, with elementals and demons? Absurd. It is low only to the ignorant who mistake darkness for depravity. The wise know that the black soil is where the seed grows. In Goetia, as codified in the Lemegeton, Grimorium Verum, the Black Pullet, and the Grand Grimoire, there are rites for evoking the dead for knowledge, vengeance, or protection. The magician draws the circle, invokes divine names, burns resins, and offers blood. If he is worthy, the spirit answers. There is no trickery here. The true necromancer is not ruled by fear. He commands, and the dead obey. But beware, necromancy does not forgive the fool. To summon a spirit is not the same as understanding it. Many cracked open the tomb only to find madness within. The key is sovereign will, that faculty which neither trembles nor falters. The necromancer must master his own mind, lest he become the thrall of what he calls forth. Advanced practitioners distinguish between three types of necromantic operations: the evocatory, summoning for dialogue; the inspirational, receiving insight through mediumship or trance; and the possessory, inviting the spirit into one's own vessel for temporary union. The last is the most dangerous and most illuminating. Goetia also acknowledges that the spirits of the dead sometimes disguise themselves as angels, demons, or other archetypes. The magician must learn to pierce these masks and recognize the essential force behind the apparition. Discerning spirits is among the highest arts, and it is taught only through practice, ordeal, and spiritual clarity. Would you know how it is done? Very well, but remember, knowledge demands responsibility. I shall reveal some methods, but I urge no one to attempt them without proper initiatory preparation. The ritual site, an ancient graveyard, a crypt, or a hidden temple consecrated to Saturn, Hecate, or Anubis, these are fitting abodes. The space must be cleansed with salt, sulfur, and incense. The circle drawn with geometric precision, marked with celestial and infernal names. The triangle of manifestation lies outside the circle, into which the spirit is summoned. The link to the spirit. To summon a specific spirit, one needs a sympathetic object: bones, hair, a garment, a sigil, or even the full name written on parchment. This link is anointed with blood, preferably animal, wine, or sacred oil. In advanced rites, a simulacrum, a clay or wax figure, may be constructed to house the spirit. The calling, Through prayers in sacred tongues, Hebrew, Latin, Enochian, the magician calls forth the dead. He may employ passages from the Liber Juratus Honori, the Picatrix, or the Ars Notoria. A black mirror, obsidian scrying bowl, or magic lamp aids the vision. Chants and repeated invocations anchor the spirit into form. The communication. The spirit may manifest by voice, vision, symbol, dream, or flame. Some answer in smoke, others by possessing a vessel. The necromancer must be vigilant and never let fear poison the rite. The dialogue must be structured and purposeful, lest confusion lead to illusion. The dismissal, essential. The spirit must be dismissed respectfully and with authority. Many who forgot this step were later haunted by lingering wraiths that fed on their life force. The circle is closed, the names of power intoned, and the link burned or buried. Some traditions include an offering at the end, a libation, incense, or an act of charity to ease the spirit's passage back into silence. Necromancy also includes rituals of protection, pentacles inscribed with saturnine sigils, amulets of jet or onyx, incense of myrrh and grave dirt. The practitioner must shield himself before, during, and after the rite. Modern times. Cemeteries of steel, digital ghosts on screens, ancestors forgotten. Do you think necromancy died with the grimoires? Think again. There are necromancers among us still, called mediums, spiritists, or even psychologists. But they serve the same function: to hear the dead, to give them voice, and to free the living from the weight of the forgotten. In modern occultism, many orders still practice forms of necromancy: ancestral rites, the cult of the mighty dead, meditations upon mortality. The thelemic practitioner may invoke the spirit of a past adept to receive guidance or commune with the collective unconscious known as the Akashic record. Even the internet, strangely enough, becomes a necromantic archive, housing the words, images, and voices of the dead. Our age is more haunted than it knows. Virtual seances, audio archives, digital memorials, and interactive AIs trained on the dead have created new forms of necromantic interaction. These raise ethical and spiritual questions. What does it mean to simulate the dead? Where is the line between memory and invocation? Necromancy is not merely sorcery. It is philosophy, psychology, and soul alchemy. It is ultimately a path back to wholeness. For there is no light without shadow, no eternity without death. You who hear these words, ask yourself, are you prepared to speak with the dead, to hear what the forgotten have to say, to look into the mirror where the past whispers truths that the present fears? If so, then learn the names, draw the circle, light the lamp, and speak boldly, for the dead are listening and they wait. And thus, we arrive at the end of this brief plunge into the deep waters of mystery. If something within you burned, even for the briefest instant, then the rite was valid, and the veil, however subtly, was torn. But do not linger here, for the work is continuous, and the flame must be fed. Subscribe to the channel that this virtual temple may remain alive, and activate the notifications, that you may return when the bells of Gnosis toll once more. Go forth with will, with silence and with love, until our next meeting between worlds, 93, and may every man and every woman be a star.